affected. So I suppose there are people in the Philippines and Bangladesh and Uganda and other countries who are already feeling the pinch. When do you think we in the West, and especially the UK, will start to feel direct physical impacts from climate change?
Well, we've seen the storm, the typhoon recently in the Philippines, and that's been disastrous. And I think it's really important to make clear we can't attribute that to climate change. I mean, it was certainly much more severe than we've seen, well, possibly the most severe one that we've ever seen, or on record anyway. But those sorts of events do occur, and they will always occur regardless of any climate change. Nevertheless, the latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, so the scientific report that came out, makes absolutely clear that what we expect to see of these sorts of extreme weather events is the severity going up and their frequency. So, and that's one of the sort of newer findings in this report, that both of those, we are likely to see those things getting worse. One of the problems is that they tend to occur in places where the people are not high emitting. And they're not the people that need to make the radical changes to their lifestyle. So what we've got is an unfortunate situation where these appalling events are occurring to people who are not the ones that are causing issue or significantly contributing to climate change. And by the time those sorts of events, as their frequency and their severity increases, by the time they start to impact places like the UK significantly, or the US, or the rest of the EU, or Australia, perhaps Australia already to some extent, by the time it starts to really impact us in a level we might think we should perhaps do something about this, I would suggest that's probably leaving it too late. By then, certainly for the other parts of the world, the more vulnerable parts of the world, it would be far too late for them. But even for us, it probably means we've left it to the point where it's starting to trigger responses from the climate that are now beyond our control. So what we have to do is learn from what we're seeing elsewhere. If we're going to require physical manifestation of climate change before we bring about any changes ourselves, rather than relying on the science. We've been doing science for thousands of years, and certainly for the last industrial revolution has been built on the back of science and engineering. We understand it, we use it day in, day out. Why is it we do not want to take note of what the science and engineering is telling us about climate change without actually these big physical manifestations of it? So there's a real problem there. If we are waiting for those physical signals, I think we're probably going to wait too late. But we're a scientifically literate age. We engage with science. Let us be a bit more honest with ourselves here and say this is what's coming out of the climate science. This is probably the most rigorous, most scrutinised domain of science that there has ever been. If you look at the level of scrutiny that goes on to these reports that are coming out, no other area of science has ever seen anything like this. And what do we get? We get a handful of sceptics, and usually very wealthy lords and a few others. We get a handful of sceptics who come out to criticise what went on. Compared with this complete overwhelming evidence from the scientists who work on this, who say this is a really very serious issue and we have very little time to actually respond to it. So I think as a scientific society, we need to take a scientifically literate society, we need to be taking much more notice of the science and responding accordingly, not waiting for the physical changes to occur and then saying, well, what can we do about it? Because we're literally going to have left it too late by then. Some of the poorer people in our own society will already start to see some of the impacts of climate change, but they won't necessarily recognise them as that. So the people who will be hit by flooding who can't afford the insurance, that flooding that occurs elsewhere in the world that will put up the price of food, so people in this country will not be able to afford the food that they were buying before. So we'll start to see these things playing out, but they're going to play out again with the poorer people in our own community who already have not really contributed to climate change very significantly and are not financially able to actually deal with the consequences of the climate change we see here, and that will be suffering from that follows on from other parts of the world. In terms of things like food shortages and so forth. So there's a real concern, even in our own country, we see a separation between those of us that are causing most of the problem and those people that are mostly going to suffer from the problems.